I am taking part in the Breedables Royale League, a National Dex Pokemon Draft League in its 11th season. For those of you who don't know, a Pokemon Draft League is a competition between a number of coaches who draft a team of unique Pokemon they use to battle week to week until one team is crowned the champion. The Breedables Royale League, or BRL for short, has a gimmick where every legendary and mythical Pokemon is banned, as well as Ultra Beasts and Paradox Pokemon. We're allowed to use 110 points to draft a team of exactly 11 Pokemon, ranging from 18 points to 1 point, and then use 18 Terra Captain points to select Pokemon that will be allowed to Terrastallize, so long as they don't exceed 10 points each. The BRL is broken up into 5 skill-based divisions, and I have been slotted into the Chansey division for this season. Out of 14 coaches, my draft position is number 11, which is close to the back wheel of a draft. It's a great spot to be in because I don't have to wait long between my first and second round picks, but there's also a great risk of the first 10 coaches sniping the picks that I want in the odd numbered rounds. Let's go over the team that I ended up drafting. Welcome to your Chicago White Sox, coached by SnowyKurama, draft analysis for the BRL Season 11. Now, when it comes to, obviously you heard that I was 11th pick of 14, so I don't really need to get back into that. But, as you can see on my screen, Garchomp is the first round draft pick for the Chicago White Sox. I did not know really what to start off with here because on the other leagues that I was playing, there were Legends, and another one was just strictly Paldea. So this is new, as far as Generation 9 goes, at least. I was in 2, maybe 1.5 BRL seasons before this, since I had to drop early from one of them. Garchomp's really, really nice, I think. I've never drafted this mon before, but I've used him in OU a couple of times. Cut moves are allowed, so the Scale Shot is here. It's nice. It is a mixture of offensive and defensive utility, since this thing can set up hazards to get spikes in this generation, which is really, really cool. This is the thing that popped out to me the most when it came to all the high costing point mons that were available at the time. This thing, I believe, was 18 points. Up next, we have our round 2 pick, which is Mega Gardevoir. I have not used this thing since my first ever draft league. So it's really, really cool to get back to this thing. Look at that special attack stat of 165. Woo! Oh man, and you can boost that up with just Calm Mind, it looks like. No Nasty Plot, unfortunately. But this thing did get a cool new move called Vacuum Wave, which is really nice for priority fighting, and we also can use Aura Sphere, which is a hell of a lot better than just trying to use Focus Blast, that's for sure. Could do a couple of different things with this thing. We could teleport around if we wanted to, but really this is our fairy type for the team. Very, very offensive, as you can see from the stats. I figured this thing and Garchomp paired together would be very good. Very good start to the Fairy Dragon Steel core that you would want to have in your draft league teams. So we've got the physical offense, and now we got the special offense, and now we just got to fill out the rest of the team with some cool stuff that would complement the two. And the Pokemon that I picked to kind of start that is Fortress. Fortress is kind of a security blanket for me when it comes to Draft League, because I know it's going to take some hits, and it's going to pivot around, it's going to do some cool stuff. It's kind of weird that I picked up this 9-pointer very early. Oh, I should mention that Mega Gardevoir is 15 points, which some people might consider a steal. I honestly do. I guess we'll just have to see. But yes, Fortress, this thing. Hazards, hazard removal, really good. It is a steel type that is not weak to ice, which Garchomp greatly enjoys. This thing's also not necessarily weak to ground either. So that is really, really cool. I'm excited to use Fortress again. I think I don't remember if I used him in the most previous season that I was playing in draft, but the one before that, I do believe I had a Fortress. So Yay, Fortress. Round 3 Fortress. Now up next, I needed something that was off the ground. Very, very important. So I went to another security blanket, but a different form this time. We have Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat is a 13-point mon, which honestly I could have went for some cheaper Rotom options, like my actual security blanket form, Rotom Mo. But I thought it would be good to have that fire typing because we didn't really have much that could, attack in that way. Plus electric and fire is very good offensively if we wanted to run Rotom that way. Or we could go defensively since we have Defog once again with Rotom Heat, as well as Pain Split. It's a good Will-O-Wisper, and like I said, it's not on the ground because he got Levitate, so really, really cool. Rotom Heat, round 4. Now for our first Terra Captain, I shouldn't just assume that you've seen the PPL and all the other draft leagues that some bigger YouTubers are a part of, but we got Dunsparce. Now I saw this thing putting in plenty of work in a couple of different leagues, and also it's just a very funny boy. Got this guy at 7 points, which seems like a pretty dang good Terra Captain as far as points go. It's kind of right in the middle, maybe on the upper end. But the Dunsparce is really cool. Very, very bulky if you see that HP stat of 125. It is pretty insane. It has some nice special and physical attacks, despite your special attack being just a measly 85. But you also have moves like Coil and Calm Mind that can boost both of your offenses and defenses, right? Coil boosts your raises attack, defense, and accuracy by 1. So yeah, another dual physical and special attacker, and as well this thing can Terra, so I can make this thing a fairy or a water or fire or a dragon or whatever I want. This thing just has a lot of potential. I'm very happy that I was able to pick this thing up. I wanted to pick up the other Terra Captain that I had because I thought that thing was just somewhat better than this one, but I really, really, really wanted to try out a Dunsparce. So here we are. The Dunsparce, 7 points at round 5. Now this team really, really, really needed a water type. So round 6, I decided to go with Vaporeon. Now this thing, I'm not sure it got anything new with the DLC, but this thing is going to do what it usually does. Passing around wishes. It has flip turn for the what's it called? The Switch Initiative. As well as Baton Pass to pass the wishes. I believe you can pass subs in this league too, if I remember correctly from the rules, which is kind of wild. So we could do that. It's got ice moves as well. It can Toxic, which is really, really nice. Very bulky water type for the team. And I got that thing for 11 points, which I think is right around where it should be. Now pick number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pick number 7 is Kilowattrel, our other Terra Captain, coming in at 9 points, which I think is kind of crazy for a Terra Captain, but we'll have to see how it actually does in this meta. I think this is the second season the BRL has used Terra Captains, so we'll see what we can do with this thing. I had this 2 draft leagues ago, and I didn't use it very often because I was fortunate enough to just kind of use the same 5 mons and then a special guest appearance from something. So this thing came to maybe 2 games, and both of those games it got like half the kills and didn't die, so it was my kill leader despite not really using it, which is kind of funny. But this thing is an electric type that is not on the ground, which is great. It has Roost, which is even better. No Defog, which was very unfortunate in the last league, but this league, we have Rotom and we have Fortress for hazard removal so far, so we really didn't need one for that. And Kilowattrel, as I said, is one of our Terra Captains, so this thing could take advantage of its high special attack stat and speed stat to really catch our opponents hopefully off guard. and hit in with a nice Terra Blast, or even live a hit and then hit back with a Thunderbolt or a Hurricane or what have you. Very excited to use Kilowattrel once again as our number 7 pick. Yes, I can count. Now up next, this slot used to have Conkeldurr because I didn't really have much firepower, and that thing, despite being very slow, is very, very strong with the sheer force and the Iron Fist and the potential guts to maybe switch in on a Will-O-Wisp or a Toxic or even Toxic Spikes, what have you. But I needed a Dark as well. So Pangoro was suggested. This thing is really, really cool. I think I only drafted this, honestly, in the season of BRL that I dropped out. I think I had Pangoro. I'll actually get a proper use of this thing here. Now Pangoro came in at, I want to say 10 points. Yeah, 10-point mod, so this thing could have been a Terra Captain, but I am out of Terra points. Plus I thought that the Dunsparce and Kilowattrel were just better for it. This thing really doesn't need Terra as far as I am concerned. This thing has Parting Shot, which is nice. Also, as I said, our Dark Mon, so we are not going to necessarily lose 2 stored power, which is really, really good. It has access to Bullet Punch, again, for priority. It's just very, very strong. Look at this attack and this HP stat. This thing is going to be able to live hits and then deal back that damage. It is going to be really, really cool to use this thing. So that is our round 8 pick Pangoro. Round 9, I figured we should get more hazard control. Well, at least that's a good little, it's an added bonus to have more hazard control, I suppose. But even better, with a spin blocker, ghost type, Alolan Decidueye, not to be confused with the Hisuian Decidueye, which is on the Hisuian team, which we'll see more of in the coming weeks. But we have Alolan Decidueye here, Grass Ghost type. It's another ground resist for the team, which is really cool for our Fortress, as well as another Mon that's coming up here. And it's also, it might be like an overdone thing for me, because a lot of my draft league teams, we're kind of weak to ground, so this time we just have, another ground resist. Plus this goes back with Vaporeon and Rotom Heat for another core that's really good in draft league, your Fire, Water, Grass core. Really, really cool. Do we have the other core as well? That's, yeah, I think that core is Psychic Dark Fighting, which is, that's a core. It is one of the cores that I've heard of, at least, with Pangoro and Mega Gardevoir. But we're talking about Decidueye now. This thing, again, another Pokemon that could be on the physical or the special side. It has access to Roost, so we could use it defensively for sure. As well as, I don't think you have hazards, but you do have Leech Seed, I know that. We can use Baton Pass or U-Turn with some added momentum. It has Knockoff, which is really, really nice in a game where items can get knocked off. So yeah, this thing is really strong. I think I've used it once, maybe not at all. I'm going to go ahead and say I've never drafted this thing before because I don't remember at all. So nice to use Decidueye. It's going to be really cool. Up next, we have our last 2 picks, which I had 8 points left in total. Decidueye was 10 points again, by the way, I should say. And I needed a poison, that's for sure. Because while I did have a lot of hazard removal in the form of Fortress, Rotom Heat, and Decidueye, I did not have a grounded poison, which is very important in draft. Unless you want to count my Terra Captains, to really soak up the Toxic Spikes. And I thought that Muck at 3 points, I don't know if it's necessarily a steal, but it's definitely a good grounded poison type for the points. This thing gets access to Toxic Spikes as well as being able to soak them up, which is really nice. You can see that SpDef stat, it's really, really strong. At least compared to some other special defenders, I suppose. Strong HP and attack stats as well. This thing is going to be taking hits, maybe, and then dishing them back out, maybe. More so for the whole soaking up the toxic spikes situation. Its other abilities, Poison Touch, so we can poison stuff if we hit them with physical moves. And then, that's Muck. Muck is here. Never drafted this thing. I've drafted a Lowland Muck before. Also in a previous BRL season. I want to say that was the one that I saw through. I could be wrong. But we got Muck at our number 10 pick. Now, number 11, at this point, I feel like I had covered everything that I needed to cover on a team. I had basically every type except for Ice and Rock, which are not really needed in draft, if you ask me, and pretty much everybody else. I had a great amount of resistances to Ice, which Garchomp really didn't like. I had a good resistances into Steel and Poison, which Gardevoir didn't like. So it was really just up to something type-wise that could help out the team that is 5 points or less. And Granbull's here. Everybody give it up for Granbull. Definitely a Pokemon that exists in the Pokédex. But this thing isn't that bad. It's a cleric for sure. Has Intimidate, which is really, really nice compared to all the other fairy types that was down 5 and below. I was considering Alcremie because it good stats, very strong Spadef and Spatak. But I was put onto Granbull because of Intimidate. And looking at its move pool, it looks like it can definitely do some support roles for the team, which I'll take support roles any day of the week. That's for sure. You can never have too much support, except for when you do, I suppose. I don't know where I'm going with this. There's not too much to really say about Granbull. It's here. It's probably going to be cheering us on from the stands, or it might be able to get into a game or two. We'll have to see. So those are your Chicago White Sox for the Breedables Royale League Season 11. Again, we've got Garchomp, we've got Mega Gardevoir, we've got Fortress, we've got Rotom Heat, we've got Dudunsparce, Terra Captain number 1, we've got Vaporeon, we've got Kilowattrel, Terra Captain number 2, we have Pangoro, Decidueye, Muck, and Granbull. The uploads for these battles are going to be whenever I can fight and whenever I can edit. So I wouldn't I wouldn't expect any sort of uploading schedule consistent per se, besides, you're going to get one once a week at least, depending on life circumstances. But yeah, that's all I have for that. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. I have 95, I believe. 95 subs. So we can get to 100 if you guys enjoyed this Draft League content. And I'll see you for week 1. Special thanks to Matt, Cyril, Sean, Emily, Query, Pokemon Department, Phonytail, and Ben for helping with the team. And another special thanks to Fleisch, Sean, and Dix for selecting me to compete.